Hello, everyone from Chelsea Fan TV. I hope you are all doing as well as you can at this moment in time. It's a very, very strange time to be a Chelsea fan. Very strange time. I look at some of the Chelsea shirts that I've got. I'm wearing my Cole Palmer hoodie. You've probably got Chelsea memorabilia in your house, a lot of you. And it's something to be proud of, isn't it? But if I was to walk into a shop at this moment in time, or a restaurant, or wherever it is, or a pub, what I would have had a couple of years back is fucking hate Chelsea. God, you guys are good. I hate you guys. From whatever other guy, or obviously another Chelsea fan, you'd be so proud. Now, I want to hide. I don't want you to see with my Chelsea shirt on. We're an embarrassment. We're not even Chelsea FC. We're Hedge Fund FC. Um, and Hey, listen, I don't really want to sit here and do all these streams and just talk negatively on the club. It's not really my style. But I mean, it's pretty toxic at the moment. And you got to say it how it is. So listen, me and Charlie, we're going to speak about what we have seen over the past couple of days. What's the latest news today? We're going to talk about the protest. We're going to talk about where it is, what's happening, why is it happening, can anything actually be gained because of this, and what's going to happen, because we've had protests before, and there was an idea of a protest in the summer. It never happened. I thought it was quite embarrassing. I feel like there is some genuine heat behind what we're seeing at the moment. So yeah, Charlie, mate, good to see you on the stream. You're rocking the Al Nassr top. We were just saying it'd be a lot easier at this moment to just move to Saudi and pay for a ticket in the Pro League.
Mate, yeah, why not? Why not? Yeah, it's mad, mate, isn't it? Yeah, not an ideal situation right now. But it's important that fans do what they feel is right, and it's important that fans make sure that their voice gets heard. And I think everyone's aware that one protest is not gonna change anything, or nothing's going to change off the back of one protest. I think everyone's fully aware of that. But I think now this is the most united the fan base has been in a long time in regards to a set issue. And it's about getting your voice heard. It's about putting the wheels in motion. And it's about spreading the word and making as many people aware as possible. We've got no idea how many people are going to turn up. No idea at all. It could be hundreds. It could be 10 or 15, but
Could be thousands.
Yeah. I mean, look, we simply don't know. I we have to be honest. Things like this have been organised before, and there's been next to no turnout. So you get a lot of people that speak the big talk online and whatnot. In the past, and people have said, oh, let's organise protests. People organising stuff on social media or whatever, and the reality is no one turns up. I agree with you that this one maybe feels a bit different, because I think there is such a united front against what is happening at the football club right now that I feel, this might not be right, by the way, but I feel that this one could be different. But again, I could be wrong, and we're going to find out whether fans actually feel the way that they're speaking by how many people turn up to this, because there's no point coming on here or in live chats or on social media saying you feel a certain way, and then when it comes to something being organised, you then don't turn up. You've got to back your talk. If you want change, or you want to try and influence change, then you need to turn up. It's as simple as that. And it's not about being disrespectful. It's not about being offensive. It's not about being personal against the people that are in charge. But it's about saying, do you know what? As a fan base, enough is enough. We've had enough. We're worried about the direction that the club's going in, and you need to listen to us.
No, I think you make a very fair point, Charlie. I've got a question. We're going to go through as many parts of the chat as we can, guys. But we want to make sure when we answer questions in the chat, we answer them properly. So I do apologize if we can't speak to everyone, but we will try our best. So this is a good question from Cade. So I'll let you answer this, Charlie. He says, what is the reason for this protest for those people who don't know?
It's basically, obviously, new ownership coming up to 3 years now. I think May it will be 3 years, and the club is basically feels like it's going backwards. It feels like any semblance of what Chelsea used to represent is going. The direction the club that's going in right now is not good. It's, decisions are being made with finances as the driving factor rather than football being the primary motivator behind decisions. You've invested a lot of money. I'm not, by the way, I want to make it clear, I'm not knocking the ownership's ambition, by the way, because you could have owners that spend no money. But I accept that they spend money and they're prepared to put their hand in their pocket. But obviously, it's
they
been
had
very
to, Charlie. I mean, they did have to. You've got to admit that. I mean, it's in
yeah,
the contract.
Sure. Sure. They had to, but it doesn't mean they're going to. Do you know what I mean? You got owners at clubs that don't put their money in their pockets. I won't knock them for not spending money because they do spend money. But this is about the direction the club's going, and this is about the amount of money that's been invested and what we actually have on the pitch. It's not good enough. It almost feels like we're at a point where we've rebuilt the squad, but we're still missing a spine. But it almost feels what we've rebuilt needs a rebuild itself. And I think fans in general are just worried about the direction the club's going in. They don't recognise the club in its current guise right now. And people feel like we're heading down a bit of a dangerous road and they want to try and influence a change. And for me, right, this can still work, but there needs to be a willingness to change. Will you change the model? Will you bring in some experience? Will you bring in some players that are ready to win now? And there are fixes that can be made. But I think the big thing for me is that I think the powers that be aren't actually interested in addressing those changes.
At all.
Well, it certainly feels that way with how they've acted over the last almost 3 years.
Yeah, I mean, I'm interested.
I can't say, mate, that they 100% aren't interested because I don't know what they're thinking. But they can say what they want, but their actions will tell you otherwise. Because how many years have we needed a striker for? How many years have we been missing a top goalkeeper? How many years have we needed a top centre back for? And those things still haven't been addressed.
It's true.
So, do you know what I mean? So I can't sit here and say, oh, they don't want to do this. But at the end of the day, their actions tell you that they don't want to do
it. Big up to everyone in the chat. Thomas, I hope you're doing well. Samuel as well. Good to see you on the stream. Tinswalu. Luke, good to see you, mate. That was a tough one in Brighton. Fuck me. Gimblad says, play Palmer on the right. It's a simple, easy change.
It's not as easy. I mean, look, yeah, I things need to change on the pitch, absolutely. But it's not a case of play Palmer on the right and we start winning games.
I don't think that's going to
it doesn't work like that. I agree that should be done, but that's not going to necessarily make us win.
Kadiri says, I don't want a one-day protest. I'm presuming you mean you want more than one protest. And in that case, I think that you are going to be proven correct. I do think that this is the first of many, if I'm totally honest with you. Chelsea fans don't seem to have the same backbone as Strasbourg, just for the simple reason that we're a bigger club. So when you have a bigger club, it's easier to have a divide. You're going to have sections of the fan base that are a lot more patient than others. Strasbourg, everyone seems to be on the same page from day one. They have 15 minutes of silence at the beginning of every single match, home or away, irrespective of whether they score or not. And then after that 15 minutes, they then start making noise. You've had Mark Keller, who's, I think, the CEO or director of Strasbourg, and he has come out saying that the fans need to come out and support the team. Or you've had Liam Rosnier, the manager, saying the players deserve support from the Strasbourg fans. But what the players need to understand, the same thing that the players are going to hopefully understand here, is that our anger is not directed at the players. Some of the anger, of course, is frustration when you see it on the pitch, when you see stupid mistakes, a lack of fight at times, although I don't think that's been an issue this season. I really don't think that the players
I would say there was a lack of fight on Friday. I thought that was poor.
That's fair enough.
But over the course of a season, I agree. Over the course of a season, I agree.
Effort, mate. I really don't see it. I'll be totally honest with you. I see players
said
that
after the game on Friday. Gusto said after the game on Friday that we lacked desire and Brighton wanted to win it more than us. That's unforgivable.
That's true. I'll give you that, mate.
But I agree with you on the whole.
When you have the intention, Charlie, when you have the intention, you know exactly what you're doing and you trust what you're doing. You know when that player's got the ball, press. When I got to track back, I come back. Whatever it is, covering your teammates, closing the gaps, etc., winning those 50-50s. I don't think that there is that clarity at the moment. And if there is that clarity and the players still aren't given 100%, then they are bums. But I blame it on the manager in that sense, because it's his job to make sure these players are in a position where they don't have to work as hard, because the system allows them to play in a way which gives them control of games and creates opportunities and is defensively solid, etc. The fact that we, in my opinion, still seem to be working hard, like you can talk about one game, fair enough, but every other game I look at Chelsea and I do think we're trying, and we're still not good enough. And that, to me, is a systematic error from the manager. But again, this protest has got nothing to do with Maresca. This is on the ownership. This is on the model.
You look at, people will criticize the manager, and I understand that, but people also need to look at the bigger problem, right? And what's happening here. Because how long have these guys been here? 3 years they've been here, right? They've been here 3 seasons. They've had 6 managers and 0 trophies. People tried to tell me that Graham Potter was the problem, that Tuchel was the problem, that Lampard was the problem, that Pochettino was the problem, and now Maresca's the problem. When you're analysing a problem, you've always got to look at the constant. And the constant is the ownership. And that's where all this stems from at the end of the day, mate. So we can criticise managers and whatnot, but until there's change above the managers, for me, it doesn't matter what gaffer you've got in the dugout. If you're working under this ownership and this structure, no one's going to be a success at this football club.
No, it's true, man. And Kofi, you make an absolutely fair point that, you know, you don't even have to necessarily just go for the ownership. It's the government, the UK government. If it wasn't for them, this would have never happened. We would still have our beloved Don Roman Abramovich, and we wouldn't be having this conversation. We'd probably still be moaning because we lost 3 games in a row, but that's when we had standards. What are standards? I don't even know what standards are anymore. I see a question here from Vic as well. Would you be joining the protest? Absolutely. I would. I will be there. I will. I mean, from my standpoint, I don't believe in getting personal with these people. I don't believe in. I don't believe in calling the owners clowns, although they are running Chelsea like a circus. I don't believe in calling in name calling with these guys, because that creates a divide that is very difficult to fix. I believe in just asking for something very simple. Now, you can say Bluco out. That's fair enough. You're entitled to do that, and I respect every fan who does that. We said that on the podcast yesterday. Charlie, you said it as well. But I think this protest is a real opportunity to open their eyes as to changing the model. Change the model. And even if you got fans that are saying Bluco out as well, like, I hope you come out and say whatever it is you want to say. I don't knock it.
You've got to aim small, though. You got to go step by step. Do you know what I mean? Like, you got to do.
I would argue the opposite, Charlie. I would say you've got to go out and be ambitious with what you're doing. And if you aim there, you might get somewhere in between. And that's what I think we'll get with these protests.
But I think we're looking at something. Look, people obviously want an end goal of a change of ownership, right? But if we're looking at good alternatives would be getting the model changed and getting the directors out. Now, we know that those 2 things are far more attainable than the third one. But if you got 2 of those things right, if you've got to change them on the directors out, I think a lot of people would be happy with that. There's still be people that obviously ultimately aren't happy, but I think, I mean, I won't speak for you, but if we were able to influence a change of model and get the directors out, I'd be quite happy with that. I mean, I don't know about you, but I would accept that.
I think that is a step in the right direction.
Yeah.
But as one of the comments said earlier on, there will be this will be the first of many protests. I also agree with that, and I think that
you can't just do one and then leave it.
If this is the case, right, and we're going to have this one protest, and this one protest has an impact, which I think it should, if I'm looking at the numbers that I hope to see, and I really believe that we can have numbers similar to what we had in the Super League. I believe that can happen. Now, whether that will happen is another thing. But the fact that this is on a match day against Southampton is something. But unfortunately, it's at 6 o'clock on a midweek game, and there will be people who are at work, people who can't go that want to go. So I can appreciate not everyone can make it, even if you want to. But there should, without doubt, be hundreds of Chelsea fans. There should, without doubt. In fact, I would say this is embarrassing to not have hundreds of Chelsea fans, because I'm hearing hundreds of messages. I'm hearing thousands of fans in the stands when we go week in, week out, complaining about exactly the ownership and the model that we have at the moment. And for you not to turn up when you are able to turn up, again, we're not criticizing, or I'm not criticizing people that can't make it, because I understand you might be at work, you don't live in London, whatever it is. There's fans in America who have said to me, Alex, if I could go to this protest, I would. I don't understand why anyone wouldn't go. And for that reason, you need to make your voices heard. Bring banners, explain your messages so that people can see. There will be media coverage. I'm absolutely certain of that. We will cover it. I will be there. I will happily speak to Chelsea fans. And if you want to do fan cams on the subject of the ownership, I will release that without any issues. I've got no problem. We don't censor our content. And, I want to have an idea of what people are thinking. But from my perspective, just stand up for your beliefs. I am not, we're not going to sit here and call, well, at least I won't. And I think you're the same as me, Charlie. I'm not going to sit here and say Clown Lake.
No, I'll never get personal.
That's not my stance. I'm not as extreme as, Johnny. I'm not as extreme. But the fundamental key message is the same. They are doing a terrible job. They are running our club into the ground. They are looking to gain nothing more than revenue for themselves. There was a quote that come out today. I don't know if you saw it. It's not a new quote, but it was a quote with captions from Ed Barley about, what he looks for. He wants the Brighton model where they only spend 10% of their revenue on wages, and that's a profitable model. I think it's pathetic. I think it's disgusting, to be honest with you. And the fact that is the ambition you have for a top club like Chelsea. Imagine this happening to any other club in world football. It's actually quite sad. It's really, really a sad commentary. And that's where we are at the moment. So there's no doubt we need to push back. There's absolutely zero doubt about that. But my opinion is, if you get too personal, then you create a scenario where the ownerships have such a disconnect with the fan base, they won't listen in the first place. If you come out with a clear message, then that can be heard. About the consortium as a whole, Blue Co out is a clear message. Change the model is a clear message. When Stanley and Stewart out is a clear message. You could even say Clear Lake out, whatever it is. But there is a fine line between saying you're not happy with the ownership and calling them all these different names. Because, again, you want your voice to be heard and taken seriously. So carry yourself in a way that allows the ownership to look at these issues and genuinely think with some concern. We're actually upsetting Chelsea fans here who just want the best for their club. Maybe we do need to change something. And that's the first step. And then we talk about it later down the line.
Yeah, no, for sure. But it is important that people turn up, because as you say, if it's a poor turnout, then look, I get it. Admittedly, obviously, a lot of people that are behind it as well are are fans that don't live either near the ground or they don't live in the UK. And, you know, I get that. But if there's a poor turnout, then that does really reflect badly. And it goes to show that a lot of people either aren't bothered by what's happening, aren't prepared to put the effort in to try and correct the course that we're on, or are simply not bothered. So it's really important that you know, if you're speaking up about this and you're able to turn up, you do turn up. I think if you've spoken about this, you know, and you go to the match, you go to the games, or you live locally or whatever, there's no excuses not to be there. You must be there. And that's the most important thing. So I think we'll be doing a disservice and letting ourselves down, and maybe letting the fan base down as well. That now that this has been organised, I mean, look, let's wait and see what happens. But if it is a poor turnout, then that reflects very badly. It really does.
It's a disgrace. If you can't get a couple hundred Chelsea fans as a bare minimum to turn out, then it's a disgrace. You'll have how many away fans will Southampton have? 3,000? 2,000?
Yeah, 2-3K you would have thought.
So you got let's just say 40,000 Chelsea fans. You have the opportunity to come because you're going to the game. You have many hundreds, even thousands of Chelsea fans around the London area. Just pop down, see what's happening. Like, what else have you got to do? I understand people have lives. If Chelsea is your life, as so many people say that to me, then fucking prove it. Show some heart and just pop down. You don't have to do anything crazy, but numbers is a huge factor in this. The reason that the protest originally happened for ticket prices was one thing, and they wanted media coverage. That's what they wanted. And they had, again, about 20 people who turned up, but they did get media coverage. They had media coverage from The Sun. They had media coverage from The Telegraph. Now, you times that number, 20 people, you times that by 10, you times that by 20, etc. Imagine how much coverage this gets. Imagine how serious this becomes. When the United fans protest the Glazers, this is on the front page. So why should we not take ourselves seriously as a fan base when we understand? And again, Charlie, you mentioned this earlier, that for the first time in a long time, we have a real unity over something that can create a change at Chelsea. We know that there is a problem at the top, and that mentality, that lack of mentality, is seeping down at every level, and that is what's causing such a capitulation, I'd probably call it, because we were in the top 4 yesterday, and I don't think we're going to finish in the top 7. How the fuck does that work? You know, so that is because of our incompetence in terms of ambition and lack of drive and just total stupidity. I mean, I don't get it, Charlie. I don't understand how we could approach January. But again, we want to keep this. We want to keep this as informative as possible. So I'd love to share with you guys some more information on where this protest is happening exactly. So I'm going to look it up as well. I'm going to share it on screen. Charlie, I mean, if there's anything you want to say, please let us know. Just while I'm looking for it.
What are you looking for?
I just want to find the exact details of this protest. I want to find the exact.
It's literally Feb 25th, 6 p.m. outside the Bovril Gate.
Right. I want to put it on screen for everyone. Anyway, let's find a question for you, Charlie, mate.
Mate, 2 super chats. Let's do them.
Oh, we got the super chat. Sorry about that. I didn't see that. Joel, thank you so much for the super chat, mate. He says, I'm going to be in the front line of the protest because I'm sick of these owners already. Also, keep up the hard work, boys. Joel, I look forward to seeing you, mate. I really do. I've taken the day off of work, so I won't be working on Tuesday night. I will be there myself as well. I look forward to seeing you there, mate. And you know, just having our voices heard as fans, even though some people are asking for slightly different things. The message is the same. We're not happy. We can't accept what we're seeing. How can you, as a fan, accept what you're seeing at the moment and think that we're moving in a good direction? So it's great to hear that you're going to be there, Joel. Also, big up to you, Joel, again. He says the thing is, people work. People won't leave work. Do it on a Saturday. Maybe more Chelsea fans will show up. I completely agree with you, Joel. It is a bit of an awkward time for a lot of people. But again, kickoff isn't until what, 8 o'clock, Charlie? Is that right?
That's 8:15.
8:15. Okay, so you have a little bit more time. When we say the protest starts at 6 o'clock, it doesn't end at 6:30. This is something that can span for a couple of hours. So don't feel like you can't come just because you can't make it at 6 o'clock. If you can get there for 7:30, get there for 7:30. If you can get there for whatever time, your presence will make a difference.
There's no idea how long is it going to be. No idea.
My opinion on this particular protest is that if enough numbers come, it will be a 2-hour protest. That's my opinion on it. Because if it's anything like the Super League, then people will be able to hang out. You'll sing your songs. You'll have a lot of time. Look, when you've got 10 people, it's a bit shit, isn't it? Let's be honest. If
it's 10 people, it's wraps after like 15 minutes.
That's what I mean. So the more people you have, the longer it will go on for. So again,
and I guess hopefully as well, like because of where it's located, like even if people were unaware of it, even just people just walking around by the ground, they'll see it, and they might decide to join in. Do you know what I mean? So it's just important to make sure you turn up at the end of the day, because it's all very well giving it the big talk, but then if you don't turn up, it's poor.
It is really poor, man. And to be totally honest, I mean, not to sit here and criticize fans, but there will be fans that don't turn up and can do it. And you can't blame anyone but yourself if we don't get the result that we want in terms of this turnout. I'm not the catalyst behind this protest, but I am a supporter of everyone's right to have their voices heard. You now have the opportunity to make yourselves heard as fans. And if you take up on that opportunity, you have my respect. And if you don't, it's like anything, I don't want to get political here, Charlie, but you look at the elections, for example, you always have like 50% of the country that don't vote. And then they want to complain about government.
And then they moan about how the country's run. It's like, well, you had an opportunity to influence change and you chose not to take it. It's that same sort of thing. No one's saying that this is going to achieve the desired result, but it certainly won't if nothing happens. So at the end of the day, like, you don't know what's going to come from this. Get out there, get your voice heard, and you don't know where this might lead. And that's the important thing here, is that, like, there's obviously power in numbers. Get the message across. We all want, at the end of the day, whether people have got different opinions or not, every fan wants Chelsea to return to the top and get back to competing for the major trophies and get back to what we're used to. And the most important thing is to get your voice heard. And when there's an opportunity to have your voice heard, you have to take it. And whether this ends up leading to anything, we don't know. It won't just be a one-off. If you want to make a stand and make a message, you need to keep doing it. Now, obviously, timing's important and whatnot, but this won't be a one and done. It'll obviously be the 25th. Let's see what comes of it, and then you plan it for other stages throughout this season, obviously throughout the next season as well. But you've got to keep sending your message until you get heard.
We have just over 400 people in the building at the moment. We have 400 people watching this. Now, let's just presume that 300 of those people are not in England or not local, unable to get to London, and you've got 100 people that are in a position where they're able to go to this event. Okay, now that's probably a realistic stat. So 100 of you that are watching, if you're in America or Asia or Africa or wherever you are, it's very difficult for you, and I can appreciate that you're not in a position to be able to do this. So it's for those other people that are in a position, just pop down. If 100 of you just from this stream pop down, imagine how many people would come from other channels. So when I say thousands of people can come down, it is a real thing. It's a real thing. Now, people criticize the Ricketts protest. Now, that was all done in a very short space of time. And to be honest with you, not a lot of people were informed. I didn't know there was going to be a protest for the Ricketts, if I'm totally honest, when it happened. I didn't even know, like, no disrespect to Matisse, I didn't even know who Matisse was at that time. I knew Younes, and I know they organized it, and they had a turnout. Like, they did have a turnout, and that was great. But who else covered that? Who else promoted it? Who else wanted fans to be involved in that? And then you look at what we have at this moment, and you see Johnny, you see Younes, you see George, you see Lewis, myself, Charlie, Nina, every other channel. I don't know another channel. Like, there are people on Twitter who are a little bit strange, who seem to still be happy, but generally people have common sense and they've sort of woken up to it now. So for us to not get anything near 10 times the amount as what the Ricketts protest had is embarrassing, because it's getting 10 times, 20 times, 100 times more traction, and everybody actually knows about it. So again, I highlight, you have the choice, and it's up to you what you want to do. Joel also says, mate, I just want our old Chelsea back. And I think you're the same as me, Charlie. I don't think we're going to get our old Chelsea back. But
that's gone.
It's not just about, it's what is the new Chelsea going to represent? If the new Chelsea is going to represent a wage cap with ambition to win, with limited investment, and we want to go down the route of bringing young players in and developing them at Chelsea and promoting them through Chelsea and continuing to keep those players who are performing, that is one thing. But when we turn into this sort of feeder club at another level, there is no club in world football that has done this. That is such a worrying sight. And, you know, the new Chelsea can have a lot of good and still win trophies and still be ambitious, but just do things a little bit differently to Abramovich. There's nothing wrong with giving managers time. But if you're giving a manager time and taking away his resources to be successful as well and creating a poor work environment, that is something that makes it even more difficult. So we're not going to get our old Chelsea back, but can we make sure that the future of Chelsea is still positive? Because it can still be positive, but not the way it's going at the moment. Big up to you, Joel. I look forward to seeing you at the bridge. I mean, it's just mad, mate. Honestly, Charlie, it's so mad, and there's so many comments, guys. I want to go through it. I really do want to. I mean, fucking hell. Let's see what questions have we got. Have we got any questions? Let's get them answered.
I think it's important that. Oh, go on.
What were you going to say, Charlie? Go on.
I know, it's just like people need to realise that Roman's not coming back. Like, let's just bury that idea deep away somewhere, because it's just not happening. So the sooner that fans can want that, fine. They can think that, oh, you know, it'd be great to have him back or whatever. And of course it would be, but that's not happening. So we just need to kind of forget about that.
Yeah. So here's a photo of this is one of the sort of protest banners or whatever you want to call it. I'll share this with you now on screen, and then we'll answer your question, Christian, as well. So Stevie Proper Chelsea, many of you, if you're on social media, probably know Stevie. He's on Instagram as well. He's a diehard Chelsea fan. He posted this. He said, it's time to protest. Clear Lake out. Blue Coat out. 25th of February 2025 at 6 p.m. outside Bovril Gate. So that is where the protest is going to be. Now, for those of you, again, some of you probably don't even know where Bovril Gate is, and fair enough.
That's the little side. That's the little one at the side.
Yes. So if I was to show you,
you've got Britannia Gate, and you keep walking down towards, as if you're going towards Earl's Court, and it's literally like it's the one in the middle.
This is Bovril Gate.
Yeah. Okay.
Now it's one of the gates when you're walking down. It's an entrance for Chelsea Football Club home supporters. So that is the Bovril Gate. It's sort of, is it in between Conakry and
yeah. So if you're Conakry, right? Yeah, Conakry. It's between Conakry and the Butchers. So basically, imagine you're walking to the Butchers from Conakry, and it's basically like in the middle.
Right. Okay. So, yeah, we can't make it any more clear, guys, where you're going. So if you're making the excuse, I don't know where to go. Like we can't paint much more of a picture. We could probably even try Google Maps and walk you down from Fulham Broadway, but we'll just presume that you have common sense and you know how to do some directions, and I'm sure you'll be fine. This is such a sad commentary, but there is reason to be hopeful, because one thing you haven't lost is when you look to your left and right at Stamford Bridge. Now, again, if you sit in the West Stand, maybe you can't say this, but in the Matthew Harding, in the Shed, you look to your left and right, and you know people that have been going to Chelsea for many years who care about this club as much as you do, who have followed Chelsea for 5, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years. And I think that you will see fans from all different walks of life, older generations, younger generations. It doesn't matter how old you are still a part of this club's future, and you have a right to have your voice heard. So there's Bovril Gate. So guys, please, if you can come, just, it's a peaceful protest. That's what Steve said. It's a peaceful protest. We're not out here to cause problems.
There's not vandalizing and all fighting and shit. No, none of that nonsense.
None of that. Okay. This is what Steve said. He said, it's time, Chelsea. Peaceful protest. All Chelsea fans that love the club there, don't make excuses. It's for the future of Chelsea. Be there. I'm in full force, epic bangers incoming, and media notified. Clear Lake and Blue out. Come on. Now, if it's anything like what we saw with the Super League, then, we are going to be in a...
Super League was very different, but yeah.
It was, but also, Charlie, fucking hell. Like...
That was Super League was more.
Do you not feel the same sense of pride that you would have had with the Super League?
Of course. But Super League was more about the future of football as a whole.
True.
But look, you can see how, if you've got the right message, you can see how powerful protest can be. Now, we're not stupid or naive enough to think that there's going to be that level of turnout on the 25th, because we have to be realistic. But that is the power in protest. And Pete, look, no one knows what's going to come of this protest. I've seen a few people in the chat asking whether, what's going to happen? What's this going to do? Well, no one knows what it's going to do, but nothing's going to change if we sit and do nothing. So you have to try and influence change by doing something, which is why I'll always support people, and which is why I'll always support and get behind the movement that is trying to do something to incite change. Ultimately, look, we have to be honest and be realistic and admit this could fall on its arse. We have to accept that could happen. But, as long as enough people spread the word, as long as enough people turn up and back their chat and back their opinions that they're sharing online or whatever platforms they've got, then there's no reason why this can't have a good impact and a good effect. So whilst I don't expect to see that, it would be, as we've both said, it would be majorly disappointing if there was a useless turnout. It would be massively, massively disappointing.
It's true. So Christian says, one question, guys. Why did we not get one owner? Instead, we got Todd and Egbali. Why not one that buys 100%? Joint owners are a joke. I'll let you answer this one, Charlie.
It's purely because there are very few people, if any, in the world that can afford to buy a football club outright, let alone a Premier League club. That's the reality. Most clubs these days are either state-owned or they're owned by a consortium. That's why. You know, the Roman thing was unique, you know, of its time, to have a one-man band, essentially. You just, the money involved now just makes it virtually impossible to have a singular owner. That's the reality. So now you very much have state-owned, like Newcastle, like Man City, etc., like whoever else. And then you've got, obviously, consortiums that own clubs now because of the money involved. Very few people have got that amount of wealth to actually buy a football club outright.
Yeah. If you look at, this is an article from Sky in 2022, 10 parties that were interested. So I don't know if it comes up with anything from there. So this is one of the consortiums. This is the one we obviously got, which was Bowley and Hansi Vis. They didn't even mention Clear Lake. Do you remember? They didn't even mention Clear Lake at that time. It was all about Bowley and Hansi Vis. God, how times have changed. One of the other potential buyers was Muhsin Barak, the Turkish businessman spokesman, has told Sky News that he didn't even
make the last four.
To be honest, I don't really remember him, if I'm honest. Redbird Capital Partners, a US private equity firm. Well, that's shit. The Ricketts, who we protested. The chairman of the Chicago club is looking for investment opportunities outside of the US.
Why have they put Conor McGregor on that list? I mean, I think his article's lost all credibility.
It is Sky, mates. I mean, that's what they said. Nick Candy as well. We know he was a big one. I've seen Nick Candy.
Man. Yeah, the Candy Man.
He was with a consortium. Was it a Korean?
These were all with consortiums, by the way, because Ricketts, these were all consortiums. I think that's obviously the point here.
Well, not all of them, because you had the Saudis, didn't you? You had the Saudis.
Yeah, the Saudi media group. That's state-backed, mate.
Fair. McGregor, Sir Jim Radcliffe, he had a last-minute ditch to buy Chelsea.
We didn't get in, by the way.
Thank God, yeah. Lofty Mansour, Egyptian businessman, is a Chelsea season ticket holder, but he says he's not pursuing a bid. I don't know why he's on the article then. Is that everything?
That was it, mate.
Well, that's a shit article, because we know that the Saudis were interested as well. So there you go. But the point is that there were other options out there. Now, if I'm totally honest, looking back, there was a couple of guys, there's a few English guys that were on there. Nick Candy was certainly an option.
Yeah, but the last four, though, because the last four was what? Ricketts, Bowley, the basketball guy. I can't remember his name now. Someone that was like had a part owned the basketball team and owned Atalanta in Serie A as well.
Fuck. He's English, isn't he?
I can't remember his name. That was three of them, and then there was one. And there was one more that I can't remember. For
purchase. I'd like to find that out. It's been such a long time since I've looked into that.
Yeah, it was obviously Bowley, Clear Lake, Ricketts. He was called Stephen Pagliuca. That was his name. I'm pretty sure it's Pagliuca.
He's English, right? He went on Talk. Is he the guy who went on TalkSport?
Boston
Celtics. And said, I can't believe that they've sacked Tuchel.
I've got no idea, but he's a Boston Celtics owner. Yeah.
Fuck. Oh my God. Yeah, we definitely had options, guys. We definitely had. I think if we would have known, like if Clear Lake, does it not seem quite sly and snaky that when everything come out about the Bowley Hansi Vis consortium, Clear Lake Capital was never put on the front of that.
No, it wasn't. It was. I mean, I can't remember how it was.
Like the way it was put forward was that Bowley was the guy.
Yeah, it was a Todd Bowley-led consortium. And that
he owned a very minimal stake in the club.
Yeah, Bowley's
Why
a
was
minority
Clear Lake
shareholder.
Capital? Why were they not the front runners in this consortium? I think we know why, because there would have been a similar pushback if we would have known that a hedge fund are trying to take over Chelsea. We were totally oblivious and unaware.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't really know what's going on, but yeah, I mean, obviously, yeah, that was yeah. I mean, look, what we've ended up with probably was in theory the best out of the four that were on the table, I guess.
It's mad, mate. Honestly, it's mad. Arthur says, thoughts on Maresca, lads? I'll let you answer this one first, Charlie.
I quite mind him. I quite like him, sorry. But he needs to do better. He needs to do better. He needs to be more proactive. He needs to think more outside the box. He needs to take more risks. He needs to have a plan B. But yeah, in general, I do quite like him, but he needs to arrest this slump fast and come up with some new solutions. Do I think Maresca's the guy long term? I've got absolutely no idea. But should he be here next season? Absolutely, he should be.
I think he will be here. I think he'll continue to be here, irrespective of where we finish. But I don't think he's good enough. I think that I think every manager deserves a chance, and I wanted to support Maresca. I've seen enough to say that he's not good enough. You know, the fact that he kept choosing Sanchez, I don't believe that the ownership had any sort of influence on that decision, because they also signed Jorgensen. So this whole argument that they're trying to retain Sanchez's transfer value, I don't believe it, because Sanchez's value goes down every time he plays because he's so shit. And the fact that Maresca keeps playing him makes me think, well, you're a bum. Like, what are you doing playing this guy every week? And he finally made a change, and then he went back to playing Sanchez in arguably our most important game of the season so far, because we got no chance of winning the Prem. So how are you going to win a domestic trophy? So Maresca didn't take any of our cup competitions seriously. You can't even say he takes a Conference League seriously, because its rotation is so heavy. But we should be still winning that competition irrespective. I don't give any credit to the manager for us winning the Conference League. If we don't win the Conference League, it's a disgrace. I think that Maresca lacks backbone. I think he lacks ideas. I think he lacks experience. I think he lacks inspiration. And I think he lacks support from up above. He has nothing on his side. And for that reason, I don't like Maresca at all. I lost patience with him in the first Brighton game. The second Brighton game, he was clueless as well. But he has nothing to work with. But even Poch would do better with what Maresca has at the moment. That's my opinion. Some people like it, some people don't. But yeah, I think he's a bum. I think they're all bums, to be honest with you. Everyone at the club is doing a terrible job. And that's my stance on it. But that doesn't make me think that the manager's doing a good job either. You know, so just because the ownership and the sporting directors aren't good at what they do, so what? I'm supposed to give Maresca a free pass? No, I'm sorry.
No one's saying give the manager a free pass. No one's saying the manager should have a free pass, but there's got to be a realization that the problems are bigger than the manager. The manager's not immune from criticism, but the bigger issue here, as I said earlier, is that look how many managers we've been through under this ownership. The problems are above the manager. You know,
absolutely, I agree with you.
But people need to be careful what they wish for, right? Because let's say this manager goes. I
don't have a better manager that we bring in. I don't even have. But I'm not going to support him either.
We saw the shortlist in the summer.
It was crap.
I dread to think what the shortlist would be if the manager goes. We cannot afford to get rid of another manager after one season. We have to stick with this manager and actually back him and give him a chance to succeed. And as fans, we need to back the manager and we need to back the team. Doesn't mean you can't criticize the manager. Absolutely not. But calling for managers to go and whatnot is is missing the point for me.
No, it's fair. Honestly, you make a fair point, Charlie. By the way, when I say he has to go, I know he won't go. I know he won't. But I don't trust him. I don't like what he's doing. And I don't like what anyone's doing at all stage. At least last season, I think we had a competent manager that could have led us into top 4 this year. I really believe that. And we could have built on that momentum. And now we have a manager who's downplaying everything we do. And we just have no standards whatsoever. But again, we know it goes beyond the manager. But again, you asked for our opinion on Maresca. So thanks for the super chat anyway, Arthur. Joel, he says, mate, I'm younger than you guys. You grew up watching Drogba and I grew up watching Costa. And now we are watching Jackson. Can you see the downgrade? I mean, it's a huge downgrade if you look at it from that perspective. Although I would argue that Jackson is not the worst thing in this Chelsea team. I think that, again, if you put another great player next to Jackson, you'd probably see Jackson play a lot better.
That's the problem. Sorry, but the problem is not Jackson. The problem is not having anyone else up there as well. That's the problem.
Yeah, I mean, you look at what we had with Silva and the players he played with. You see Badia Shield perform better. You see all these players defending better just because they've got an old head next to them, someone who knows what they're doing.
I agree, mate.
I don't think it's much different in any position, to be honest with you. If you're isolated, it's very difficult. So, yeah, I mean, it's still a massive downgrade. Don't get me wrong. I mean, nobody's comparing Jackson to Drogba, but they are different players. I saw a comment the other day, which I almost agreed with. It's like we're trying to compare Jackson to your Drogbas, your Costas, and he's more like a Kalou. That's what somebody said.
People need to stop doing that, though, because comparing current players to past players is a completely pointless exercise. Like we know that these players aren't as good as what we used to have. We know that. So what's the point in constant? I'm not saying this to you, but what's the point in just constantly messaging? Oh, we used to have X, Y, Z. Now we've got Jackson or whatever. Like, we know that bringing that up is not really. I'm not having to go at anyone here, but bringing it up in general is not really achieved. What's that saying? What's that achieving?
No, it's true. It is true. Apparently there's a tweet from Pies. I'm not seeing the tweet, guys.
No, I think people just making it up.
There's no tweet.
There is no tweet. Yeah,
there is no tweet. Thanks for the super chat again, Joel, as well. I look forward to seeing you on the 25th, mate. Kian says the problem I have is that a lot of people at the protest will still go to the game. I feel like that just contradicts the point of this protest. And this is something that people have said to me many times, Kian, over the past couple of days, which I disagree with. I don't agree with boycotting the games, because if you don't go, someone else will go.
I've always said that tourists will just go instead. You're never going to get an empty seat. If season ticket holders don't go or match goers don't go, other people will go. That's the reality. You'll always get someone who wants the ticket. Simple as that. And ultimately, people say don't go, right? But the tickets have already been sold and bought. They've already made their money. So,
yeah, you're not taking any money away from the club by not going. I suppose you could take into consideration whether you're buying food and merchandise, stuff like that. But yeah, from that perspective, it is it doesn't really make any sense to me why you wouldn't go. I love watching Chelsea. I love going to the games. I went to the games long before Chelsea Fan TV. I got my first season tickets at Chelsea in Conte's second season. I started following Chelsea home and away in Lampard's first season. And, for me, it's a part of my lifestyle, irrespective of, whether we play well or we don't play well. I enjoy going. I obviously love doing the channel. I love going and doing the fan cams. And to be quite frank, it is depressing at times. Don't get me wrong. But a lot of Chelsea fans are like me, and it is ingrained in them. It is not something that you just stop doing because you don't feel like the club is going in a certain direction. Say that to Nottingham Forest fans. What? So they're just going to stop following their team because they got relegated and they went downhill and they and they couldn't compete like they used to. I mean, what kind of a logic is that? If that was the logic, football clubs would have no fans in the first place and no backbone, because everyone goes through phases where they go up and down. Now, it just happens to be that our downfall is a little bit, well, much worse, it seems, than what other clubs would have to go through from where we were to where it seems like we're going. And from the perspective of a fan who goes every week, I think it is worse if you don't go, because your voice becomes irrelevant. Twitter means nothing. In all, like, respectfully,
Mate,
all this
everyone can
social
chat
media,
a big game behind the
no, but
screen
it means
online, not
nothing.
showing their faces. Like,
If the stadium is quiet and people don't sing what they want to say, and if they don't protest, then it's all irrelevant, because everyone tweets, everyone does something. Not everyone is willing to turn up in person and do it that way. So that's my opinion on it. I mean, Charlie, do you have anything you want to add on?
No, I don't think so, mate. No. I think it's, but like, it's important, right, that you do get behind the team as well, because ultimately a toxic environment in the stadium or an empty stadium, whatever it is not going to make the team perform better. Like, and this is the point, right? The protest, make your point outside the ground, and then bring that same energy in the ground to get behind the team. Because we need to get behind the team. We have to.
Like, you would go from having a toxic Stamford Bridge, which is not a good thing. It's not a nice thing, but you at least feel that passion, to having a lifeless stadium with no one that even cares enough to shout about it or get their voices out. That is where we would be going if you don't turn up. And I think that's a worse place than having angry fans. So my opinion is not to stop going. It's to go and try and make your voice heard as much as you can, although it feels pointless at times, and it probably does fall on deaf ears a lot of the time as well. It's better to do that than to do nothing whatsoever. So big up to you, Kian. Thanks for the super chat. Joel says, that's the point, Charlie. No disrespect to Jackson, but we shouldn't have him up front with 1.5 billion spent. So it goes back to the owners now.
You know, I don't disagree with that at all.
Fair enough.
Well, yeah, it's true.
It's a short answer. But
we shouldn't be putting those players in that position at that stage of their careers. We shouldn't be doing that.
We could have easily spent 1.5 billion and had a fucking hell. We could have had the best squad in world football for that money. Let's be honest. We could have had, like, we could have signed the best young players out there. We could have signed Vinicius. We could have signed Mbappe. Not that they would agree to sign for us, but theoretically, we could afford to pay their wages and afford those transfer fees as well. So yeah, we went down a different model, didn't we? We signed players that we'd never heard of. I'd never heard of Jackson before we signed him, and now we have to try and clean up the mess that we have, and we've created one hell of a mess. It's all great saying that you can spend your way out of trouble when you have an owner that's willing to go inside his own pocket, but we don't have that. We have someone who wants to take money out of our pockets, and that is the concern, isn't it? So again, I'll share it on screen again, guys. Where the fuck is it? The Bovril Gate. This is where it is going to happen. The 25th of February at 6 o'clock, before the Southampton game. If you finish work at 6 o'clock and you can get to Chelsea for 7 o'clock, get there for 7 o'clock. Don't think that just because you can't get there at that time, you can't contribute to this. You can't be a part of this movement, whatever you want to call it. So it's up to you guys. You can't say that we haven't told you, because I've made it pretty clear. You have an opportunity here to
try and influence change.
Yeah, exactly. Bloody hell. So there you go, guys. big up to everyone. Let's go. Let's have one or two questions, Charlie, and then we'll wrap it up. Let's see. Tommy Corn says match-going fans want to back the team 3-0 down and clap them with no desire to fight and mugging off the fans walking off the pitch. That's a problem. Have some self-dignity. What do you think about that, Charlie?
Look, you can be unhappy with the team's performance, but I don't see how berating players and booing players and fucking shouting obscenities at them after a game is going to make them play any better. Can I understand people's frustrations? Absolutely. But, you know, what does that achieve? For me, I don't really get what that achieves by, you know, slagging players off after a match. That's just my opinion on it. Of course, you know, you're pissed off how the team's played and you're annoyed at the players and you want them to do better and whatnot. But like, think of it in this line of work, right? If you're struggling in your job, right, or you've had a bad day, do you really want your employer or people you work with or your boss to tell you you're fucking shit and shout at you and do that shit? Do you want that? Is that going to inspire you to perform better? It's not, is it?
Yeah, you got a track record of teams that bring a great atmosphere in certain games. I'm not saying over even a season, but you know, why is Anfield a great place for Liverpool in Europe? Why do these stadiums have an impact in the big games? It's because the fans. You know, it's not because of anything else. They are the 12th man, and it's not every week, but at times it can make a real difference. I've got one more question. Well, it's not really a question; it's a statement. Jeff says that's a lie, isn't it? They are prepared to take money out of their own pockets. Esteval, Willian, Caicedo, and Enzo. But what we need to understand is it's not their money. It's money that they contractually had to spend because of the Glazer clause. Not the Glazer clause, sorry. Because of the clause in the contract that Abramovich put in there. The Glazer clause is something different. That's that they can't sell the club within 10 years. But they also had to spend 1.5 billion anyway. So in order to sell the club or get in this position where they can withdraw revenue from the club, they had to spend that money, because up until that point, they're not in a position to be able to take anything from it. So now you've seen we've spent that money. What are we doing? What do Chelsea actually own? And what do Blue Co own? Ask yourself that question. Who owns Chelsea Women's? Who owns Cobham? Who owns the hotels outside Stamford Bridge? Who owns the Stoll site? You know, so there's a number of things. And also when you look at these players as well, guys, you know, Esteval, Willian, Caicedo and Enzo. I mean, Caicedo and Enzo are good players. I'll give you that. Absolutely. I mean, you've got to have some sort of spine. If you didn't have anything, I mean, Jesus, we'd be in big trouble. But Esteval Willian is a player that can easily be flipped on for a profit. And it goes back to the original point of the way we're being run in the first place. But yeah, Charlie, mate, appreciate you jumping on, man. That was a good stream.
All good, mate. All good.
And listen, big up to everyone that come on. I'm sorry we couldn't go through as many comments as we wanted to. I will be doing another stream at 8 o'clock tonight. So jump on for that one. I'll be breaking down. You know, we'll be going over this again, as well as talking about where Chelsea are in the table, where can we actually finish, and what does the season hold based on what we've seen so far, as well as the results that we're going to see as well, because I think we've got a couple of games today, but I don't think they actually impact us. Are Liverpool playing? No.
Yeah, Liverpool playing against Wolves, 2 o'clock kickoff.
Okay. So you got Liverpool playing. Not that doesn't affect us.
And then it's Spurs, Man United, 4:30.
So yeah, I'll be watching them, and then we'll jump on after. Guys, if you haven't already smashed the like button, we've got 350 of you here at the moment. Let's get up to 300 likes on the video. Big up to everyone. I'll be back at 8 o'clock. And we'll catch up soon. All the best. And subscribe to Charlie's channel as well if you haven't already. It's in the description. Blue Brother. And yeah,